Back in July, Sarah Perkins brought her 14-week-old son, Cal, to the emergency room after his temperature spiked to 103 in the middle of the night. Now, it's terrifying for any parent of a newborn. Doctors ordered an X-ray to check for any sign of infection in his lungs. Well, that X-ray showed a weeks-old fracture on his rib cage, one that had already healed. Doctors determined that it was from non-accidental trauma. Well, Sarah and her husband, Josh, were now suspected of child abuse. The Massachusetts Department of Children and Families got involved, questioning the parents and their other son, 3-year-old Clarence. Now, just a few days later, at 1 o'clock in the morning, Josh and Sarah heard a pounding at the door. It was the police and DCF demanding to take their kids away.
So you guys showed up at 1 o'clock on a Saturday morning. And what is the current situation? Like, do they have the proper authorization to take our kids?
From what I understand, yes. There's an emergency order, from what I understand.
But we don't have any paperwork or anything? So you can take kids without a judge?
Yes, I've done it before.
Okay, and you don't have any sort of paperwork?
I would like paperwork on scene, but it's not here.
So, no paperwork. No proof that this was legal. Just 5 people standing at the door in the middle of the night, that's normal, demanding to take these children away from their parents. Well, after an hour, Sarah started getting her children ready, but she tried to stay calm for them.
You get to go on a car ride.
I mean, I gave her the information to call on Monday to get.
On Monday?
Somebody.
Why is this happening? Like, we had days to do this. Why are we doing this when we can't do anything until Monday?
Yeah, our concern is that you're adding 2 days of extra trauma to the kids.
Monday? Well, DCF told these parents in the middle of the night on Friday that they had to wait until Monday to get any information about their children. I read this story and I actually wanted to just throw up. It was the most sickening set of details. Joining me now are those 2 parents, Josh Saby and Sarah Perkins. Sarah, as a mom of 3 children, I'm trying to put myself in your position here. And it's just it's so heart-wrenching, the details of this. But you say that during the investigation, you were repeatedly asked about your religion? And the Washington Post, which told your story in a lot of detail, which is what I read this morning, said that DCF intake report noted that you frequently glanced toward your husband when being questioned. And then I guess they went on to theorize that this might be due to a possible power dynamic because of religion. Sarah, what are these creeps talking about here?
Yeah, I think it was really certainly disturbing to us to see how often it came up. At another point, when Josh's parents took custody of became the kids' guardians, they were asked if Mormons believe in corporal punishment, which had really nothing to do with our case because we don't use corporal punishment. And so, regardless of Mormon teaching, which they don't preach more corporal punishment, it was entirely beside the point for our case. And I think it became very clear very quickly that how you fare in this system is totally luck of the draw, and what catches the caseworker's attention and whether or not they're willing to work with you.
And what their biases are, right? Like what they think about our religion.
Well, Josh, that was my next point here. I mean, it seems to me that it's pretty obvious that you were suspects because you're people of great faith and you happen to be Mormons, and they didn't like that. That's what it seems, that these facts seem to point only to that direction here. Otherwise, not a lot of this makes sense. Not these notations, at least.
Yeah, well, I'll say we can't know exactly why they made all their decisions. It was a terrible decision. But I think what's perhaps most shocking is not the incompetence, but that this isn't that uncommon. This actually happens all the time to parents, where like the number of people have reached out to me, and just the data shows that this happens all the time, where DCF, this is one of their main ways, and CPS around the country, one of their main interventions is to take kids.
Sarah, where does everything where does everything now stand? Where are your kids and how are they doing?
Yeah, so we, after I think 4 months, almost to the day, we got full custody again. It was a pretty protracted legal battle.
4 months?
4 months, yep. And during those 4 months, we were visited twice a week by different social workers. And those visits were hard. They were hard on us. They were hard on our kids. Clarence usually would wet himself after those visits and have really like spiked behavioral issues after those visits. But we finally did get full custody. And I should also mention, we're 4 months. It was long and it was brutal for us.
Josh, how much does this cost you guys? I mean, this is just a horror movie here. I mean, I can't even believe this is actually happening, but apparently it's not all that uncommon. Josh, how much?
Oh, it's very common. We're at this point $50,000 in legal fees. There's of course other expenses on top of all that. We've been very fortunate that we're not particularly wealthy, but we have social capital and we're connected to people that were able to give us a lot of money. We did some fundraising. We're still doing fundraising right now to raise money at joshuasaby.com, so that we can get money to, fight back, not just for ourselves, but for other people and make changes to the law to protect families.
And I would just add, the reason we've gone public with this story was really never about us. We had a down payment saved that we were able to use, as well as some of the donations that we got. But the vast majority of people in the system are not so fortunate. Most people who end up in this situation are people without the sorts of resources and community access that we've had. And so we feel a real obligation to do what we can to speak out and to share our stories so that we can start to make needed changes.
Josh and Sarah, this story, I mean, it just gets wilder and wilder the more we hear of it. Thank you for speaking out. And I'm so glad your kids are okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
We appreciate it.